Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 354. Today is Saturday, January 30th, 2021, and I'm glad you can join me today. It's been a pretty rainy week this week. It's very cloudy today, so this may help with optimal lighting. It's definitely going to result in me taking a photo at sunset because the days when it's cloudy result in the prettiest sunset photos. As you do. And maybe I needed to be better prepared for this episode, but we're just gonna go for it. So I just got off my sister's baby shower. She's going to be having her first sometime in March, so very excited for her. Unfortunately, USPS dropped the ball, and the stupid package is still in transit, so no. So just a little bit annoyed with them right now. Or would it be? Because I got that in the mail on Tuesday. So, if priority is really today, what in the world is going on? Oh well, my other sister hasn't gotten her package either, so. But I just did that regular. But what would it be? It's one of the icebreakers that we ended up doing was to say what you thought your child would never do and what you would never do as a parent, for which I just have no idea, but my secret hope was that my child wouldn't be like me and open up all the drawers and empty everything inside of them so I could crawl in. The likelihood of this occurring is obviously extremely high. But who knows? But it was very interesting hearing everybody's different answers for that. So, and it was also really nice to see so many of my family members, because it'd be the case where we don't end up all getting together very often, as the cousins have become adult, that sort of thing. So, that was really nice. I was knitting on the Viajante the whole time. So I got to give a little teaser to my aunt about how it was going to be turning out for my cousin. Oh, that's how I know I'm really not prepared for this week's episode, because I forgot to weigh this right before hopping on. Oh well, it's not a big deal. I actually got quite a bit done on this week, so understanding that there is reddish purple in this you cannot see. This is where we're at right now, so I'm pretty close to wingspan now in terms of size. Now with the added side benefit of I'm dropping stitches off, which I do not appreciate. Off the wrong needle even. We'll get this all sorted. So this is a pattern by Martina Behm. She is a German designer who did an awful lot of designs for Wollmeise, which is the yarn I'm knitting this out of, and this is in the Rittersporn colorway, which is a blue you guys can see and a reddish purple you can't, with little hints of a darker blue in there as well, which might appear on your screen to be that slightly darker color, though some of that slightly darker color is the purple, the secret purple. I should take a photo today for Instagram, because it's really been one of those projects that hasn't been very well documented. But it is my only knitting work in progress right now. So the goal has been to what would it be? This is my last obligation project that I have going on. So it is or would it be? So it'd be the case where it would be really nice to get this bad boy wrapped up. But when I look at my marker, I actually got quite a lot done this week, which I think I'm maybe only a little bit surprised about. So yeah, so I've actually done 30 rounds this week, which I think is actually pretty bonkers. So when I go to weigh this, I'll figure out if I'm sort of in the zone of probability for when I can begin doing the, what would it be, so that I can begin knitting the, why is my mind blanking? Begin the lace mesh, and I'll be adding beads to the lace mesh as well. So I'll do like a little alternating pattern of beads for that. So it should be really pretty, and the beads add a really, really lovely heft to the shawl, so it makes it drape really nicely. So should be good. It will be less mindless at that point, but hopefully that isn't the end of the world. It just means that I won't be able to work on it in the dark. But 30 rows is really good, so I think this is justifying my strategy of focusing on the project. Focusing on the project in order to make some significant progress. Yeah, no, it's been a while since I've done that much. The only open question right now is whether or not I cast on a project for the Blamed Under Knit Along. I might end up not doing it. Or what was it? We were pondering at midnight on Thursday whether or not Caroline was going to be recording again, because we haven't heard from her in a long time, so I'm hoping she's doing all right. But we don't know, it's all speculation. So a pretty decent amount of knitting progress this week, but what would it be? It doesn't take too long to cover that ground. So there has actually been quite a lot of spinning progress this week. So I managed, or I did an awful lot of spinning this week, so I'm maybe a little bit surprised that I got so much spinning and knitting done this week. But hey, whatever. I will accept it all. What I'm trying to do right now is actually I think I really shot myself in the foot. It's almost like I need to pull out Ravelry in order to properly quantify all of the things, but what I have here is my accidental fractal BFL spin. So I had a set of Rologs that were mixed with white and brown BFL. I had a set of Rologs that were about 2/3 of the area was white and 2/3 of the area was brown, and so that ended up making sort of a color change gradient that I ended up spinning white to white, brown to brown as I went through the sequence. And then I had a carded slider, or I made a bat that was a gradient as well, and I pulled that off as carded slider, which I think is one of my favorite ways to go about doing that. And so that was a gradient that went from brown to white as well. And so I now have this like variegated, variegated marled skein to show for it. So it's 394 yards of a 3-ply in about 3 ounces. So I had about an ounce of each thing. as I was working it. So, and I ended up spinning this all using the lowest regular ratio on my Lightroom. So for some reason I've just been doing all of the projects that way. So this was the first thing that I finished. I think I was working on the singles or the plying of it last week. It's possible that I've never even showed the other parts of this though. Or that I'd finished the singles and then I took a little break to work on this skein. So this is 350 yards of a 6-ply cable. So it started off as 3-ply lace weight, but I ended up plying it back on itself using my jumbo flyer of the Lendrum, which was twofold. Well, I have managed to fit 5 ounces on my regular size Lendrum bobbins. I was pretty sure I couldn't fit 6, especially when making a more fluffy yarn. So this means that this is now probably closer to sport weights because this is approximately 6 ounces. But it turned out really gorgeous and fun. So what's happened now is I've somewhat diluted the yellow and white bits, so they're showing up as little bits of contrast in here. Bring it close. So you can see that there's like golden yellow, bits of white, purple, red, and orange. I think there's actually 2 shades of red in this. And so this is going to be the contrast color of my Hinterland sweater. So that is a Jennifer Steingass pattern that at some point I'm going to be starting. Obviously I am, what would it be? I haven't been super duper, I haven't been super duper motivated to start something new, especially when it means that you end up making really good progress on another project. So, what would it be? I think I did a pretty good job with the cable, so this is going to result in some very nice contrast for the yarn, and it turned out to be a pretty balanced skein in the end. So, and I was really close to having these 2 guys match up, so that was also nice. It made the skein a little bit more unruly, but not too crazy. And I don't care too much that this will end up being slightly thicker than the main color, because that just means it's going to pop a little bit more in the pattern, which I think is a good thing. The yarn that I was trying to emulate was Spin Cycle Dyed in the Wool. And so I think that this will end up creating sort of that long color repeat look, even though it's many more plies than the original basis yarn was. But part of this was just making yarn more useful for knitting. So this one was originally something closer to a 3-ply lace weight, so 6-ply sport is gonna be perfectly good for that project. I'm just dropping things over. So I can't remember if I then spun all of this next, or that was a break and then I applied it next. And then I ended up spinning another skein as well. So this one is 1 set of Rologs and then a very, very small art bat. So the art bat probably had like Leicester long wool and then like blue and pink merino in it. And then the other fiber, I believe, was sort of like a silvery blue-gray merino. And so it's resulted in something that's definitely on like the blue end of silver, with like fun little pops of like pink and teal. Here's some more obvious pops of pink and teal in here. I'm not sure if the pink is actually going to show up. I'll need to take some better photos of this guy, I believe. But, or would it be? But it'd be the case where I think it ended up turning out really gorgeous overall. But this one was actually probably a little bit too small to be in my bin. Because it's, or would it be? Because I had about an ounce of Rologs, but then my bat was only about half an ounce. So it's 2 plies of the Rolog and then only 1 of the bat. Left my bat behind. So, not too crazy. I want to say that it was about like 250 yards in about 1.5 ounces, so really not a lot. Let's see if I can't. I did like go through and add stuff. So I called this guy the accidental fractal, and I called this guy the moonstone because it is totally not my usual colors, but I'm digging it. So this guy was 45 grams and 231 yards of a 3-ply. So let's see. Yeah, so that would be about normal for me. So that's it would be 590 yards if it was 4 ounces. And this guy is pretty close to on target as well for that. So I have been spinning these guys fairly fine, but the projects have been going pretty quickly. So whatever, it's not too crazy there. This means that I've done 4 of the 12 projects that I'd set out to do for Completely Twisted and Arbitrary Spin the Bin 2021. So I still have, what would it be? Though the projects will be getting bigger as I go along. I was starting off spinning through all of the Rologs, so at this point I'm almost done getting through all of my Rologs. With this particular project, I will be significantly closer. What would it be? So it'd be the case where I do have some Rologs from my fractal class that I ended up taking last year. And then I think I will be done, and I will be pretty happy to be done. Unfortunately, this last set of Rologs that I made is, it's pretty rough. Yeah, no, I wasn't very careful about picking through the fiber. So what ended up happening was there actually were quite a bit of like shortcuts, and I think I rolled them pretty tightly, so it's meaning that it's been really, really hard to spin. But I'm just sort of like gritting my teeth and powering through. So I started working on this actually last night. But the problem is the poor little Rologs are like so like tight and twisted and short and crazy that like it doesn't want to draft, which doesn't make for very good spinning. So the only thing that's free drafting in these Rologs is actually the mohair locks that I had embedded inside of them. And you can sort of see that as sort of the brightly colored things peeking through in here. So the mohair has been a dream to spin. The Leicester long wool base that they're in has been such a nightmare. I'm probably gonna message Roy and be like, what in the world went wrong? So I've spun 3.5 Rologs out of the 6 I ended up making. You can get like 3 Rologs per blending board when you work on it. You can get 6 to 7 Rologs if you make them on the drum carder. But, oh man, my drafting fingers are a little bit pissed off about the experience, but I will persevere. It will be fine. And what would it be? It'll be fun when I combine it with the art bat as well. Oh, maybe I should actually be looking at the screen. Okay, so, tilt you in. So what's happening is you end up getting sort of these blocks of mohair embedded in the white, and this is sort of blowing out a little bit, but I have mohair locks that are sort of like yellow, green, purple, and black in here, and I just have like probably, I don't know, somewhere between like 4 to 6 locks in each row lock, so you get this really fun, brightly colored section. Oh, I cannot, oh, here we go. So I'm getting close to another section coming here, but the drafting of this has been really rough. Apparently I saved the worst for last. And I know a big part of it is just that, what would it be? I wasn't super careful about the fiber that I ended up putting on, so I didn't end up removing the shortcuts in it, and so the only person to blame is probably myself, but whatever. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm hoping that the art bat will be a little bit easier. And I believe what I've decided to do at this point is, so I'm filling up a bobbin with these Rologs, and then what I'm going to do is spin this bat. So this is approximately 2 ounces here, and it's got like pink silk, I think, Leicester long wool. It's nice and soft and lovely. Definitely on like the coarser end in terms of texture, but not like the end of the world. And then we're gonna see what happens, because there's also thread embedded in this bat, so this is supposed to be more of an art bat. But I'm just gonna spin this whole thing onto a bobbin, then I'll wind it on my ball winder and ply from both ends of it. So I think that'll end up being sort of the easiest way to handle this bad boy. So this is going to be a little bit more textured, but it should be fun. I'm really looking at this visually. It looks like this fiber is in much healthier shape than the Rollag fiber is. So I'm hoping that it will be okay. I ended up sort of pulling out all of the short bits that I've sort of pulled out of the Rollag so far, so you can sort of see this is why it's been rocky spinning, because these guys get all up in your business. And I think that ends up sharing like a very true thing about the fiber processing world, which is if you let crap in, you just have a more challenging time getting the crap out later. So it saves you a lot of pain and heartache if you take care of that early on. So I'm fairly certain there was probably a way that I could have dealt with it, but neglected to do so. But it does make me really glad I didn't get a blending board, because I do not enjoy working with this. Or I do not enjoy working with the Rollags nearly as much. Or would it be? I think I accidentally spun my best Rollags first. Because I'm pretty sure those were what would it be, like the shades of green, black, and green and blue. Like, I think those ones ended up spinning the best of all of them, so. Oh well, you live and you learn. I know that I definitely prefer, or would be, I definitely prefer working with top. So, or would it be, but this would be the case where we're getting to the end. I only have a couple of more roll-logs left to spin, so I will survive. But, would it be? And the roll-logs that I ended up making, I don't know, we'll see whether or not they're any better than the roll-logs I made in the blending board class. I don't know, I guess I'm hopeful. And then after that we'll be sort of transitioning away from that, so it'd be the case where hopefully that'll end up being more pleasant spinning from here on out, because right now it's just a little rough. So yeah, I guess it's a question of what I end up deciding to do, or a question of what I end up deciding to do for what I end up deciding to do for my next cast on it. I'm like, or would it be? It'd be the case where I know we ended up talking a little bit last week about what all the possibilities could be, so well, we shall see what I end up deciding to do. I don't know if I will, or would it be? I feel like I am leaning towards the heavier weight right now. So we shall see what way I end up breaking. But it would be, so I have crayon etching and Reclaim Neighborhood Fiber Company, Svanhild in my Madeline Tosh DK, and the Weekender in my Cotton Linen Held Doubled. So we shall see which way I end up going. It is a mystery to me right now. I will probably end up deciding after I finish hitting record. I'm pretty sure the crayon etchings, or would it be? If I was to go with some sweater patterns that don't have as much exposure, it would probably be the crayon etching or the Svanhild. But we shall see. The other question is whether or not, like, I'm in a brain space for cables right now, but whatever. I've been thinking about these things for so long that, what would it be? At some point, there will be satisfaction. And that is a-okay. The other thing that I was thinking about, so I was like looking through my stash, and so I know I have a skein of Mad Tosh that is the oldest full skein in my stash. But then if you back that up to the next oldest one, it's actually a partial skein of Cobweb that I have at least 1,000 yards of, that I've actually had earmarked for a pattern that Posey ended up giving to me several years ago. So it's the Scheherazade, Scheherazade beaded lace shawl. So I'm wondering if I actually want to dye the yarn again. So I ended up, it was originally sort of like a very light minty color. I'm wondering if I want to dye the yarn again to make it more blue. It got dyed green because I've used all of my blue food coloring. I don't know if that was back in 2011 or 2012. It was a while ago. It might have even, I don't know. It's been a while. But it's a merino cashmere, I think 80-20 blend. And 84 grams has 1,000 yards. It's a little bonkers. And it's a 2-ply, I do believe. So, but I do have enough yarn to knit the full-on version of it. I'm not sure if I have, or would it be, I don't know if I would actually end up going for even smaller beads with it. But what would it be? It'd be the case where I've had this pattern forever, I've had this yarn forever. Does it make sense to finally make an object with it? We shall see. It's gonna be a little hurtful because I dyed that yarn before I had started spinning, and so I didn't even have like a knitting body for it. So it's actually been sitting balled up forever. And then for the Mad Tosh skein, I'm actually pondering if it would end up looking really cute with 2 other skeins that I have in the stash as well. So I do have a decent amount of that. Or when I look at these guys together, it does really make me think that this one, and this one really would look really, really cute together. So, I think so. They do coordinate very nicely. But this is vintage, this is some Sun Valley, and this is some Malabrigo. Yeah, that's 200 yards. Yeah, they're all fairly similar base-wise between all of them. So, who knows, but not my usual colors for sure, but I think they do actually look really cute all together. I think it would be nice. So that's sort of been on the brain as well, is amongst my oldest yarns, what sort of project I should end up pulling for that one. Though if I do end up knitting the crayon etching sweater, this, by reclaiming yarn from this guy, that will be older. And maybe I should alternate skeins better. Maybe I should be more intentional about that. Yeah, no, because this one will be really, really nice when I get to it. But yeah, no, it was not quite perfect execution on this one, so the thought of reclaiming the yarn seems fairly positive for this guy. So that will be gorgeous. So this is like a sort of like a teal and navy, which is very gorgeous. And will look really great in the textured pattern of that sweater as well. So that's where my mind is at now. I may just lay everything out in front of me and impulsively pick something to do. Because that would be in the spirit of the blamed under knit along. So I will figure out some sort of qualification and explain it to you guys next week. As you do. Yeah, no, so the current, or would it be, I don't anticipate any interruptions to the recording schedule in the near future. I do need to set up a meetup with my friend in order to give her the meds. But it has been a little bit rough because you need to make sure it's not like a rainy day, and this week has been so rainy. As you do. But I don't know. We'll end up making it work. So yeah, in 2 weeks I have to attend yet another baby shower, but thankfully that gift has already arrived. Oh my gosh. And then I think I'm done for a while, which is splendid. Oh, what would it be? Yeah, keep on keeping on. I don't know, I guess maybe I'll end up getting a lot of shawl time if the Dear Sweet Lovable One and I resume the board game we started on Tuesday. We ended up like recording everything we did into a spreadsheet so that we could figure out like do a little bit of data analysis on like our choices in the game. And it was at least a little bit enlightening. But this is the game where I have never won it. And or would it be? So I've never won this game. But we're now like semi-regularly trying to play it to see whether or not I can actually defeat him. So this was one of the things of trying to figure out, like, is there a certain point in which I become horribly behind, or are other things going on? So I have to laugh about it, so we'll end up seeing what we end up deciding to do. Maybe one day I will finally defeat him, and that will be exciting. Actually, that will end up being an interesting thing to get clarification on as well. So I think I mentioned earlier that I was taking part in the Fluff to Stuff 2021, and so this is a spin and knit along hosted by Grace, who is Babel's Traveling Yarn, Mina, who is Knitting Expat, and Mars, who is Hey Brownberry. And so what would it be? I need to get some clarification in the rules. Not because, or what would it be? It'd be the case where what I would like to know is whether or not I can simply knit with handspun I've already made instead of spinning specifically for a project and knitting the thing within the time period it's running from tomorrow until the end of November. And at this point, I've accumulated so many different handspun so many different skeins of handspun that I would just really love to be able to use some of it. I know 2020 was the year of joyously using my handspun because it had been packed away in storage. So I would like to think that 2021 could also be a part of that too. And what would it be? Like, it would be the case where for my hinterland sweater, that was definitely a project where I was extremely intentional about it, even though it was something that I had started in June or July. Rough number, or would it be? I think I started spinning for the main color back in June. So I'll get clarification on that. Even if you're not a spinner, there is the option to knit like with hand spun. And I believe the rule is that it needs to be at least 50% hand spun. So if you're really interested in taking part in that, I may be able to hook you up. Just saying. So just food for thought there. It seems like a very interesting sort of challenge, and I'd be very excited if I could just use my already spun hand spun. Though I will be making stuff as well, so there is also an opportunity there for taking any of my spin the bin projects and combining them somehow. Because they are, what would it be? It is the case where they are working out to be pretty close to my same weight. I'm not really challenging myself right now on changing up how I'm spinning. I may need to be more intentional with my Carl the Frog project, so that might be something that could count. I don't know. Who knows? We'll figure something out. I don't think I really have anything intended for socks at this point, since I am coming in at like the light fingering end of the spectrum, so we shall see how things turn out. Yeah. But it would be nice to get clarification, because it, like, I'm specifically thinking about the sweater project. I actually just sort of went through the thread and sort of listed off all of the different projects that I had been thinking about with handspun. Like there's a Jimmy Knits pattern that I wanted to use my camel silk and yak silk for. There is the Stephen West Excuse Me poncho of my dreams. There is the hinterland sweater, which is something that I've been, or whatever, so that was very much so an intentional project. I know that there is a lace shawl that I want to do with either one of my Julie Spins 5-ounce skeins. And then there's all of the different sock projects that I've been thinking about as well, to get through my handspun sock experiments. So far, so good on my opposing ply socks. What would it be? See, they're very gorgeous. I've been wearing, they have been my sock of choice for the past few days. Yeah. I think there are a couple more projects. Oh, I was probably going to make a foolproof with one of my hackle projects. So there's all sorts of ideas that I have for using the handspun I've got. No need to add more future projects to the queue. Or would it be like, I know I'm doing it, but I don't know, this episode's probably gonna end up being called future projects, so whatever. So we'll see how everything goes. I'm sure it will be fine, but obviously now is the time ripe with possibility about what could be. So there is that. I think that is everything that I wanted to share with you guys this week. So with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.